The angel of the Lord stood between earth and heaven, a drawn sword in his hand, stretched out over the city of Jerusalem. Then the Lord instructed the prophet Gad to tell David to build an altar to the Lord on the threshing floor of Ornan, the Jebusite. This would be the place where God's mercy would be made known. David, ever obedient, went to Ornan to carry out this command. The threshing floor of Ornan was no ordinary place. It was situated on Mount Moriah, the very mountain where Abraham had once offered his son Isaac in obedience to God. And it would be on this same mount where Jesus Christ, thousands of years later, would give himself as a sacrifice for the sins of the world. When Ornan saw the angel, fear gripped him. His sons hid in fear, for they knew what was happening. But Ornan, in the face of danger, continued his work threshing wheat. David, now determined to make atonement, approached Ornan, and when he saw David, he rushed to meet him and bowed low, his face to the ground in respect. David asked Ornan for the place of the threshing floor. He offered to buy it at full price, to build an altar to the Lord and put an end to the plague that had ravaged the land. Ornan, moved by David's words, insisted that the king take it for free, even offering oxen for the burnt offering and wood for the fire. But David, with deep reverence for God, refused. "No," David said firmly, "I will surely buy it for the full price, for I will not offer to the Lord that which costs me nothing." David understood something profound. A true sacrifice requires something of value. It cannot be cheap or given out of convenience. To offer a sacrifice to God that costs him nothing would mean it wasn't a true offering at all. David's refusal to accept the land for free showed his deep commitment to God's commands. It wasn't about getting the easiest or cheapest way out. It was about honoring God with a genuine, costly act of worship. David paid Ornan 600 shekels of gold for the land, a price reflecting its true value. This piece of land would not only serve as a place of atonement for David's sin, but it would become the very site where Solomon would build the temple, a place of worship for generations to come. Ornan, despite his noble heart and generous offer, could not take the place of true sacrifice. The king had to pay the full price, for it was only through David's sacrifice that the plague would be averted. This principle is true in our lives as well. Genuine faith and devotion to God often come with a price we must be willing to pay. As David built the altar and offered his sacrifices, God's mercy was shown. God answered him by sending fire from heaven to consume the burnt offering, then commanded the angel to return his sword to its sheath, and the plague stopped. But the story didn't end there. The place where David met God, where he offered his sacrifice, would forever be marked as holy ground. A place where the past and the future of God's redemptive plan would intersect, affecting the course of history. Just as David's offering cost him something, so too did the ultimate sacrifice for the world. Jesus Christ, the true shepherd, paid the ultimate price for our sins, offering himself on the cross so that we might live. The sacrifice that David made on Mount Moriah would foreshadow the sacrifice that would one day change the world forever. In every act of true worship, there is a cost, but the reward is always worth it: God's forgiveness, his mercy, and his everlasting presence.